All right, I'm going to go ahead and get it started a little bit early. And what, some I might miss, we'll catch on the recording. If you've had classes with me, you pretty much know how I handle this. I have what I do in the evening classes with this is I go about an hour to an hour and a half, because I know that after a day, it's 6 o'clock, you're tired, you're worn out. I understand that. And I'm not, and so what I try to do is we go about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, and then I do a second screencast that I post. I do that probably tomorrow or over the weekend. And that way you have a full 150 minutes of instruction. But I don't believe in trying to keep you up here till 9 o'clock, because I don't think it does you any good. And if I don't get home by 8, I can't have cocktail hour. So I'm kidding you. But I know you had a hard, long day, and to sit in this classroom till 9 o'clock at night, it's a bit much. So we're going to go for about an hour, and I'll record this, and then I'll do a part 2 over the weekend. Everybody clear on that one? Okay. And always remember, if you have something come up, you can always come into the if you can't be here physically, you can always beam in through Zoom. And I post all those invitations and recordings and all that stuff over here in the, I'll post those over in the announcements area. Question?
Yeah, I can't find your class on my campus.
Okay. You are indeed enrolled in it?
I think I emailed you.
Because I've had 2 or 3 people who I did an override for in Banner so they could get in, but that doesn't automatically put you in. You've got to enroll in the course. So are you saying to me you're a data administration dreamer? Is that? All right. There's a whole, let's just get scarier by the minute. Now, before we go any further, as you log in, let's make sure we go through the routine of getting the VMware fired up. You might recall that from another course you've had with me, or if you've worked in the lab. In the screen, there should be a little thing that says VMware. Click on it, okay? And then it's going to ask you for a password, and the password will be your station name. And your station name is your computer, and it's pasted and taped right on the front, okay? And then the password, you just put that and go on. Then as you progress through it, it should give you an OBU, a green screen with OBU on it, and then you should be able to see the software that you can get, because we'll be working on Access. Let me repeat. Okay. First thing, you should look up in your computer. Look up for a little green icon called VMware. Okay. Find it. Click it. And if it asks you to log in, okay, your username will equal your station name, and that's your computer. So you'll need to look at the taped number on there. All right. And then the password, just ignore that. Just click and go on in. Then you should be able to, I think, click on something to initialize the VMware, and then you'll get an OBU screen, a little green thing, and then you should have it and be able to look and see the Word, Excel, Access. What they've done is they put Office on the cloud, and so we have to go into the cloud. Getting there? Yeah. Some of you may have machines already fired up that have it on there. If you do, So we good there so far? That'll get you to Access. So let me go through it again. I think it's going to be an icon on the top left hand. It's called VMware. Okay. It looks like somebody spit spinach on the screen. Okay, like that. And then you're going to get a dialog box, if I'm not mistaken, that asks you for your username, and you'll put in your station number, which is your computer, and then it'll ask for a password, and just don't put one in it. Just click and go on. Then you should have a thing that will either initialize the VMware, or you click on it and it'll start to initialize. And once it does, you should see a green OVU screen that gets you rolling. And once that pops up, then you'll have the Office tools there that you need to work with. Are we getting there? Yes? Okay. I know there will be some of you, because you got stuff going on, that you won't be able to make it to class. So you can either watch the screencast, the recording of it, or you'll be able, if you want, you can beam in and follow the live screencast as it occurs. There's some of you later on, I'm going to ask you please not to come back, so I'll let you know. Kidding you. Okay. I usually teach this class a lot better when I'm drunk, but hey, you know, you can't have everything in life. I'm just kidding you. I'm absolutely totally kidding you. No, I'm kidding. Okay, now in the announcements area, and you should always log in to. We have someone. Yes, this is cars.com. How can I help you? Hello? Please mute your microphone. I don't want to hear whatever stuff's going on at your place anymore. You want to hear what I have to say. Thank you. All right. Now, you'll need to log in to Canvas. If you've never logged in, there are instructions there at the OVU website. If you logged in, you know how. And officially, please note, you must log into Canvas at least once a week, so I can count you as participating. I get metrics on everybody, so I know what you're doing, what you're looking at, and all that stuff. And when you go through Canvas, well, because they are our LMS, we have to log in to use them. Okay, so now you say, why are you saying that? Well, I have some time to fill, and I'm really not prepared for class. I have a lot of old jokes. You hear those? No, I'm kidding you. I don't have any jokes. But here's how this process works. Right now, I'm recording the screencast. Once it's recorded, I have to process it, and it produces an MP4 file, and then I'll load that MP4 file over at YouTube. And YouTube will have it, and then I'll put the link to that file, up that YouTube file, here in Canvas in the announcements area. So please go through Canvas. Okay, I know there's a temptation to go out to YouTube and search for it. I know what'll happen though. Some of you will get, you'll start looking at dirty movies. Others will look at puppies and stuff like that. So just come on into Canvas, go and get your business done. All right. Fair enough? All right, fair enough. All right, now, if anybody has any contraband, alcohol, tobacco, I'll need to confiscate it and keep it. I won't be able to return it, unfortunately. Anyone? Okay, yeah, you're what a miserable crowd you are. I'm kidding. I'm teasing you. Now, just for those who came in, and just to repeat again, we'll go about an hour and 15 minutes, and then over the weekend I'll record another 75 minutes of instruction, so you get your full 150 minutes. Does that work? So we'll be out of here by 7:15, 7:30, somewhere like that. There's a limits to what you can endure, and I know after a long, hard day, coming in here and trying to go 3 straight hours is just it's insanity. So I just go straight through to 7:15, maybe 7:30 at the very latest. I stop, I save that recording, I post it, and then I do another recording and then you have your full time. Does that work? Okay. Now, please, 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 again, to make sure that your candidate is participating, you've got to log in to Canvas at least once. It's probably better twice a week, so that I have something to show when I'm asked, are you participating or not? And this is something coming down for the administration. And I can run your metrics, but just, you know, you're going to have stuff to do anyway, so you might as well log in to do it. Although I've had others who've been enrolled in the course but never did anything, which I thought was interesting, but what can I say? Okay, let's just do a quick look around Canvas and talk about some of the just navigating through it. Now, there's an announcement that's fairly, I think, self-explanatory. There is also an area called the syllabus. Okay, the syllabus, it's a little bit of a misnomer, but this is where all the assignments are listed and when they're due. Okay. Now, Rock Off is based on this text, the analysis text. So I've got quizzes from there. Okay, and we're going to do some work with the Rock Off text in terms of these different databases that we'll upload. Now, if you've had a course with me before, here's here's my philosophy of teaching people how to work with this stuff. I prefer to show you a finished product as opposed to having you putting in a bunch of data and getting upset and all this, and show you a finished product and help you walk through it and deconstruct it. Okay, this is a data administration course. It's really more about how do I handle the data that we have than trying to turn it into DB freaks or something of that nature. Although we're going to work with a lot of code, but you're going to find that SQL is a pretty easy language to, once we've gone through it enough times, you're going to be going, oh, okay, I understand that. And we'll talk about some of that, about the views that we get and using the text. And that's why we have the Patrick text, okay, the John J. Patrick, which has the SQL. And also the reason I chose that text is because he shows you what some of this in terms of welcome, in terms of, or maybe they left, in terms of Oracle, okay? And as we work through Access, please understand, Access is a nice kind of model like to teach you how to drive. So and it lets you look behind the scenes and see what the programmers and the database administrative people do, and then also then from the end user side, which we're most interested in, is how do I use this tool, okay, to help my company be better, to be more profitable, to be more sustainable, etc. Okay, now you'll see I've got a lot of things, and we also have another text in here. This is the text, the business intelligence text. You're going to have some assignments out of it, and by the time we're finished with this, you'll have a much better handle on how we use these databases and what we can do with them, and why in a lot of ways they start to become a way that we model a business or build a business model for ourselves. Okay, now also want to point out, again, you can work at your pace as you wish, okay? And so it's here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so as we work through these cases, if you've had a course with me, which many of you have, we'll go through the case and put it together, then you upload it, okay? You'll get a chance to show what you know as we come down to the end of the course, and we have some of these, as you would figure, I'm going to have some hands-on kinds of things, some large projects for you to do, not large, but to have to develop a little bit of code and run some queries, that type of thing. So you'll be ready to do that, okay? So that's the syllabus, and that will always tell you what's going on. Now the quizzes, that's obvious as you maneuver around, okay? Then we have the modules. The modules are chunks. They're either organized chronologically, as I do, or they're organized as from a thematic standpoint, or maybe a blend. Now up here, this this module, the welcome module, I have all kinds of resources that we use, okay, for the course. Many times I'll have data set up and created for you so you don't have to go through a whole lot of rigmarole, but instead we can focus on what are we trying to do with this, what are we trying to see, okay? Now I want to start off also with something I think is very worthwhile, and some of you have probably seen this before. This is what we call the analytical cube, okay? The analytical cube shows us the dimensions, or what we would call the variables or the factors that are important to us in terms of our business. And then they have a thing called measures, and that's stuff that we count. And you can see that also we can add a time dimension. And so we slice and dice those squares running queries in order to get a fuller picture of what's going on with our customers and their interactions with us, what's going on in terms of a company in its internal operations. And often we'll use this to collect data, and that's why I have the business intelligence text that are really more strategic in their nature, okay? And so it's going to be helpful for you to see this stuff, work with it, understand the views, because once you've mastered this, which you will pretty easily, you're going to be able to work on any database, okay? Databases are really, other than spreadsheets, have changed how we do business. Probably the monster, the big dog on the block with this is Amazon, with the Amazon Web Services. Their web services, their DB management tools are so good, they sell them to a lot of people, including governments. They're just that good, okay? And they're that well designed. Probably, in other than them, I would say probably Walmart is the next one. They handle an incredible amount of data, and the point is, this analytical cube, that's why we use the term data mining, because as I do queries, okay, and I use meaningful queries that produce meaningful data that I can use to make a decision, then I really am ahead of things. Databases have really come into their own, and we think it's important for you to feel comfortable with these products right here, because you're going to get a chance to look, I think, at either SAS or SAP and how it works, as well as Oracle. You'll see that when we work through the Rockoff text, and then Access. For the simple reason, we are collecting data in ways that people never really even dreamed before. A lot of this, what we call unstructured data or big data, are things like all of the sensor data that get flowed back to servers with all the cars out on the road that have infotainment systems, that have driver comfort systems. I punch number 1, it takes my seat back. I punch number 2. All that data is out there. Your phones are just emitting data all the time, where you're at, what you buy, what you do. We have sensors embedded in products, and companies are just swimming in the middle of all this, and they're trying to figure out, okay, what do we do with this? So databases and the development of them and the use of them becomes an extremely valuable strategic tool, okay? The holy grail for us is 2 things. Number 1, to use this to understand our internal operations, okay? And secondly, to achieve a level of intimacy with our customer. Intimacy ranging from, we know who they are, we know what they buy, we kind of have a pattern, down to the true holy grail, which is based upon what I see in terms of your behavior, I can begin to recommend things for you to buy. I can anticipate what you might want, etc. The master of that is Amazon. And when you go into Amazon, you'll never see it in a different way, because you'll start to see how they have looked at your purchases, looked at your patterns, and have begun to build a little algorithm that fits you because they want to sell you stuff. Okay? So now, on top of all of that is our need to get stuff from an e-commerce site into the hands of a human being. And so databases are exceptionally important. in terms of storing and handling data, logistics data. I have a lot of times as I interact with the students, they'll ask me, what industry is out there that you think is really an industry to get into? And I would say this: if you're not an accounting major, you probably have a job by this point. If you're not a computer science major, you do have a job. You may want to look at the field of logistics, because as more and more stuff gets sold online, as the economy comes, as our global economy just becomes more and more entrenched, the value of logistics goes out the roof. The ability to get stuff from point A to point Z becomes very important. And so folks who are interested in that, those companies are constantly hiring people. They need analysts, they need programmers, they need people who can manage a warehouse situation. Those kinds of things are out there. I've had about 2 or 3 students now who have gone that route and have done very well. Well, again, the analytical cube is the way that we start to look at data, and you can see, for example, product dimension, how much do we sell through different retail outlets, what products do we sell, etc. Now, the value of you is that as you learn your company and you learn about your industry and you get experience, you'll know what to ask for. You'll know the queries to run. You'll know what kinds of data you want to get. Okay? So this course helps get you prepared for this, and this course is what really sets you apart from all the other business graduates. So all the students will be graduating this spring. Most of them will not have a clue about why their company has a dashboard system or how it's put together. They won't have a clue on what is SAP, what is SAS, what's Oracle, what this can do. That's what will make you very, very valuable to an employer. With the coursework that you go through with us, we basically give you the same skill sets as an entry-level business analyst. Okay, so I wanted to talk about that for a moment. And again, I've got a whole lot of different resources for you, okay, including things like the growth of unstructured data. So, and it's incredible. Now we have software, and the retailers have software that can track the heat of your phone, and so they can watch and they can see customer patterns inside the store. Where do people go? If I'm a retailer, I definitely want to know that. If I'm Walmart, I'm definitely queuing into how you traverse my store, because it's going to determine how I lay the store out and put the products out there. And I want to maximize per square foot revenue, so I want to have that stuff arranged in a way that you tend to buy. And hey, if I go through Walmart and I do that thing, and then I pay with my credit card, they're loving every minute of it. I'm paying them to know everything about me. And those of you who've taken a course with me, you've heard me talk about Tapestry, Esri, which is the best, outside of Amazon and Walmart, the best database company in the world. Now here's what they do. They build an algorithm that simulates the United States Census. So when you go out to Tapestry, you can look at all the data they have, and you're basically, rather than waiting 10 years, you get a shot every year. They usually do a competition where they'll have someone give them a transaction, and they'll trace that transaction, and they'll come up with a full and complete history of that person or that part or that business that made that purchase. That is amazing stuff. The other thing about this, and the thing about this course, and one of the reasons I love to teach it, and I'm a great believer in it, is that these are tools that we can use in trying to help people, especially in disaster scenarios, okay? If you've been listening to the news lately, there's a guy people have Fitbit or have little fitness apps, okay? And those are really little social media that will show you. And a guy went out and he tracked down and put it into a map all of the activity that people with a Fitbit or a fitness app. And it became an issue because he was able to go look in places like Iraq, and he could see a little area, and here's a lot of activity here. Well, what is it? Well, it's military people. And so, hey, you gotta do some thinking about that. But also in the middle of a disaster, if you go into that situation, having the ability to go in and take a look at maps, to drill down, to use GPS coordinates to find things is absolutely invaluable. I lived through the tornado of 2013 and that hit Moore, okay? And I can tell you that when we went in, we had no idea where we were because everything was gone. Houses were like a pile of matchsticks. There was nothing there to show us what street I'm on, where I'm at. The only way we could navigate was to use GPS. And so as they kind of started to climb out of that, they had GPS, and we're using that. Where was the telephone poles? Where was cable? And what street am I on? What house am I at? What's the address? If they hadn't had a GIS to do that, they'd still be trying to find their way around. And so these tools are very valuable because they can help us figure out those types of things, especially mapping. Mapping is something that I've always loved and excited about, and there's a lot of good stuff going on with it. Okie dokie. Now, let's talk about some of the things we're going to be doing in the class. I want to go back up to the modules section, okay? And I'm going to close this welcome because I got a lot of activity stuff in there. And what we're going to do this week, okay? Now, this is a little bit dated. That's all right. This is just the course intro, okay? That's from last fall, excuse me. And so we're just going to do a course intro. So I want to navigate through Canvas, talk about the textbooks, all right, and get us ready to do a little bit of work. Now, again, if we're interested in knowing what do we got to do, okay, all right, we've got on the first, we've got this is due by, okay, we've got the Rockoff exam, okay, that was tonight, and let me see, no, it's Rockoff exam 2. I'm going to look at that. I'm going to look at that because that just doesn't look right to me. Yeah. Oh, it's on, huh? Oh, it says the 15th. Okay. Interesting. All right. Go up here and take a look at it. And it doesn't look like, okay. Let's look at the quizzes. Maybe it's scrambled. And that's chapter 1. Exam is due. Okay. The 5th. Okay. Got you covered. Thank you. That's weird. Oh, no, wait a minute. Here it is. Okay. Now, we've got the syllabus that tells us what we're going to be working with. Now, I want to move over and talk some about these Access 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to take a look at what we call a data warehouse model, okay? And so we're going to see how one of those is put together and what we can do with it. And so I want us to, for a moment, just to go over to the files area, okay? And let's look for the Rockoff, Rockoff files, okay? And we'll pop in over here. There's the Patrick McCure, and that's the exam. Here are the files. It's a zip file, okay? So the Rockoff files, it's a zip file, and let's unpack it for a sec. All right. Now, you're going to see a data warehouse file, okay? And then another little zip file, and then a sales database and a sales database and a zip file. See, got those? Let's open up the data warehouse access file, and we'll see what we're talking about and what we mean, okay? So you want to click Enable. Now tonight we're going to work on access number 1. This is one of those access workshop cases, and so you'll want to save this down to your desktop and then submit it where you're to submit Access Workshop 1. I want to talk about this for a minute. When we talk about a data warehouse, what we mean is we have a collection of databases, or we've designed a set of tables that enable us to link the tables together to get data or unique data sets that we couldn't do otherwise. Okay? Everybody with me so far? Now, let's talk about navigating through Access. All right? I have the shutter area. I can look at all the objects, and that's usually what I do. And I'm going to see I've got some tables here and then some queries. Everybody with me so far? Have you found the Rockoff files, the zip file?
Yeah, mine, the Horizon client, the VMware, I keep plugging out.
Okay. Yeah, please do if that's what's happening to you. Now, if you look to the left there, you're going to, the Access shouldn't be a surprise. We've worked with it before. But here's the point. If you take a look up here in the types of objects, right now you have two types of objects. One of them are, one set are tables, and the other set are queries. Now, when we talk about a warehouse concept, here's what we mean. I have a bunch of data stored in other databases, or in its most simplistic fashion, which is what this is, I have data stored in tables. And then I want to run queries to pull those data out, and I'll often try to relate those tables. Now, if you see the names here, okay, this is a sales warehouse, you'll see the word DIM. That means a dimension. You say, what do you mean? Well, a dimension could be, in this case, a marketing channel. A dimension could be the customer. A dimension could be who made the sale. It lists that the time. Those are variables we're after. You follow me? So I have all those saved together. Now, the beauty of this is we can tie these tables together, and we'll do that, and we can produce unique data sets. Okay? So every one of these are like waiting to be worked with. Now, you're going to see a thing called production prod or production tables, and let's click on that for a moment. And what you'll see, these are categories, okay, of products. They have a code for each of those, and then they identify the name of the product. It's a dimension. It's a category. It's a type of product. You with me? Yes? Okay. Now, as we go on down, let's look at this production order detail. Click on it. It says production order detail, and here we have the order detail, the summary, the product ID, how much was the quantity ordered, what was the price, and what were the costs. What we try to do is make a table behave like a well-written paragraph. It expresses one thought. It has one thing. And so we have all these very specialized tables that we're going to pull data from. And so this is not a lot different. When you go shopping at Walmart, you're going to the warehouse, and you're going to ask yourself, okay, do I want vanilla ice cream and peanut butter this week? Do I want chocolate ice cream and peanut butter, or some other flavor? Do I want creamy or peanut butter with a lot of nuts? And when I eat the two of them, I'm just going to have the peanut butter right there and dip in. Do you do that? That drives my wife crazy. I love to dip into ice cream, then go into that peanut butter and come out. Ooh, it's good. And because those textures don't fit well, then it becomes a challenge, because you have to eat a lot of it to get enough. So you go to the warehouse, same story here. So here we have a production category, and these are actual data. These are data from production operations that we've done or performed. Here we have an order summary. Click on that. Okay. These are arranged by date, the salesperson ID, the customer ID, and the order summary number. Okay. What makes this so powerful is that when I run a query, okay, I don't change the database at all unless I have the authority to do. what I do is I create what we call a view. What gets saved is not all of the data that I got from the result of my query. What gets saved is the code. That's why this is such a powerful tool. That's why Amazon, can get you millions of hits in, 20 seconds or whatever it takes them to do, because we can store just code. Now, if we have the authority to change the data in the table, that's fine. But if we don't, we work with what we're given. Most of you will be working on a dashboard and then with some type of a data mining tool that you'll have a limited amount of access to certain kinds of data that you're supposed to have. Then we have the production for the salespersons, and this is again just one of these tables that lists our salespersons. Now, let's go down here and take a look at the queries and go to the design view. Okay. Now, as you remember, when you took 1123, every access has 4 levels. One is the display level. The second level is the design level. The third level is the code. Okay. And here we have these two tables. And we've combined them. And then we've gotten this unique set. And we're trying to find, okay, I want to get a summary, okay, of all of the sales, and they have a date here. Okay, click that off for just a second. And shut it down, and then reopen it back up, okay? And now, probably the best thing often is, as you try to save these or work with them, save them down to your desktop. In fact, I'm going to do that right now so we don't have limbos, files in limbo. So click Save As, save the database as, and I'm going to go ahead and put that on my desktop so I can upload it. And I'm going to put this like AWS 1. Okay? And then when you upload this tonight, you can upload this as Access Workshop 1. Now, we're roughly going through the chapters here in this textbook, and as you in the Rockoff text, and as you go back into the end of like chapters 14, 15, and 16, 13, he talks about what's business intelligence, and then he moves you on over into the questions, okay, in terms of, let me pop this over, that's 13. And 14, we start to move into what we call dimension modeling. That is, what are the key dimensions I'm after? Okay? I had some type of business question or something that I wanted to know. With me? And I'm on the, let's see, I've got this, where's this, here it is. Oh, I don't want to do that business. Give me this up here. Here we go. Now, let's look at this first query. Okay, and I'm going to come down over here to the, I want to look at the data warehouse sales. Now, this is what we call a data warehouse query because it has a listing of all the sales that have occurred. Okay? It has all of those, and then I can cull data from this. Now, I'm going to go to the design view on this, and you'll see all the tables that are tied together. Now, when you took 1123, you worked down here at this iconic level, the design level, and most of you, when you're out there working with commercial products, that's the view you're going to see. You'll be able to mix and match data from tables that are there and available, and get your results set. And we've got all of these tables feeding into the fact sales table. In other words, this is the listing of all of the sales and the facts that are with it. And you can see the sales date, the fiscal quarter, etc. Okay? Now, I could run queries off of this gigantic DW sales query that I've got, pull from it, but it's a complete listing of everything. Now, I'm going to go down another level, right-click on the tab, and we're going to go down to the SQL level. And there's the SQL. As we start to work through the Patrick text, what we're going to find is SQL's pretty simple, not a big deal. You'll become very comfortable with it very, very quickly. It's just a matter of doing it, and you get some experience with it. Then you kind of understand. It's what we call a command language. It tells the database, get the data for me from this table, from these fields, order them like this, sort them, filter them, whatever I choose to do. I'll go back up to this view, and here we are. Now, this table, okay, is pretty unwieldy if I decide I want to do some mathematical computation with it. So as you've heard me say before, let a database be a database, let a spreadsheet be a spreadsheet. So if I'm smart and I have to do some heavy lifting analytically, do some number crunching or try to depict this visually, then I'm probably going to pop this over into Excel or into some type of spreadsheet application so I can get that done. I just simply click on this, okay? And I can just export it. I'm going to close this off. And I'm going to go over here at home, and I'm going to click external data, okay? And I'm going to click export, and I can throw it out into an Excel sheet. Then I can do what I want to with it analytically. Okay? Writing the query, writing the formula to get these data would be just terrible it'd be a lot of work when I can throw it out into Excel. Okay? Let's do that for just a second. Let's go ahead and click on external data at the tab at the top. Then click on this data warehouse sales. This is the whole compendium, and then come up to export and export it to Excel. And you say, okay, where do you want to put it? Let's put it on the desktop. Okay, and I'll repeat for you. On the tabs at the top, you're going to see Home, Create, External Data, Database Tools. You want to click External Data. Okay, then click the object that you want down here. And we have this DW sales query. And then choose Export. So we send it down to the desktop, and we have it in Excel, which is a tool designed to crunch numbers, if that's what I'm wanting to do. Well, I can also do this since I'm in Excel. I do have the advantage, okay, of working with this in terms of using pivot tables, mapping, creating charts, etc. Whatever I want to do that's going to work for me. That's all I've got to do. Here's the DW sales. It's going to fool you a little bit because it's going to show up as white. So open it up. You say, okay, if I can export data, can I import data? Of course. And a lot of the challenges, or a lot of the work that we'll end up doing is, and you'll probably be in more as an advisor to this process is, what data do we want to capture? And what do we do with it once we've captured it? Okay? You say, well, that sounds stupid. Trust me, there are people who capture data and they handle it and process it, and it costs money, and they don't know what they're going to do with it. There are some companies that are great masters at using these tools to run experiments, to do simulations. And so now that I'm over here, I can put this into a pivot table, and I can work with it in that format. I can compute all kinds of statistical data, the works. Got me? So always, always, always use the best tool, which is why in this text, the Rockoff text, he emphasizes the use of pivot tables a lot. Okay? And you just go get the stuff from the table that you need, pop it into a spreadsheet application, and then begin to do what you need to do. Okay? Conversely, you can import data into Access as well. Now, if you look down here, you're going to see a thing called Report Product Analysis. Let's open it up. And I'll say beginning date. I'm going to put 7/1. I don't know what the beginning date are. I forgot what these 12. Let's see if that'll do anything. No. What are their dates? Let me cancel this for a minute because I need to know their time. Okay. Okay. It's going to ask me to give an end date, and I'm going to put 7/1/2011. Okay. So this is going to tell me everything I sold in that time period. Okay. Now let's go down to the design view. All right. And you'll see the start date, and there's the code. Yes?
What did you use for your start time?
I started when I went back into I started at 6/1/2011 and then ended it with 7/1/2011. The time in the dummy thing that they've got in here, I think it's 2011 and 2012. Okay? I 7/1/2011. Yeah, this shows me everything. And if you'll notice over here, you have the far right on this query, you have what we call a parameter query. And that is, before the query will execute, I have to put in some data, like a beginning date, an ending date. It could be my ID. Every time you log in with your password, you're doing a parameter query. They ask you for a username, they ask you for a password, so that whoever you're logging into knows, yeah, that's you. Now, if you have trouble, some of them that are pretty sophisticated will pop up and say, I'm not a robot. And they'll maybe take you through the capture thing to say, okay, that's a truck, that's a truck, that's a truck, or that's a dog, that's a dog. So they know it's not a bot just running random figures or random names. Okay, so we've got this report that we've generated. Okay. And we'll navigate down. And then we can go back up to the view, to the data sheet view, excuse me. And I want beginning date, and again, it's asking me for parameters. And I begin, my beginning date was June 1, 2011, and then July 1, 2011. Okay. Okay, now we have one more thing, and we have a report, and it's called report sales. And again, a beginning date and an ending date. Notice the prefixes for each of these files. Dim for dimensions or variables or factors. Query is a QRY. And then report is RPT. This is old school. And this is before, okay, and people use these before we had icons. Meaning you used to write all the code to get all this done. The tools that you've got at your disposal are just unbelievable. Okay, so we've run those through and we've done. Now let's click on the Database Tools tab. Okay, click on that, Database Tools, and then click on Relationships. Okay, And let's see what it gives us. It should give us a nice little relationship table. They should be all tied. Oh, they didn't tie them together, did they? Okay, that's my fault. I'm sorry. What I do want to show you are the object dependencies. Click on that. Before you do that, click on the click on the DW sales, data warehouse sales object, and then click on object dependencies. And what this is a way for you to see, okay, the objects that this is dependent upon. Okay, how did it come into being, and what objects are dependent on it? We want to know that because it's a way for us to kind of trace the stuff. Okay? Now, to put some of this into context, what I hope you'll do is next week, take a look at, and it's pretty light reading, but chapters 14 and 15. Especially over in 14, where they talk about what they call dimensional modeling. And what they talk about are the schemas or the ways we design a database. Over on 294, they talk about what they call a star and the star and the snowflake schemas. And if you look over there on page 294, figure 14.1, you're going to see, okay, we have this star data model, because in the middle of it is the sales. And then we have dimension A, dimension D, product, channel, like the marketing channel, the customer, the dimensions, and time. They're all feeding into this sales, and that's what we call a star schema. That's one way to do this, okay? There's another one, and that's what they call the snowflake schema. And if you look at that, you'll see it over in figure 14.2, okay? And you'll notice everything feeds into sales, but then that sales table has some subtables, product, subcategories, and categories. And most databases today are designed like a snowflake. So we have cars, models of cars. If I'm running I have an automobile dealer, I'm going to have, you know, the manufacturer, the model, the year, blah, 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 blah. They tend to have that schema because we get more finely grained in our description of a vehicle. And when you go out and look for a car, you know, on one of these sites, you can go look for cars. They'll walk you through everything. Or if you go to a manufacturer, build your own, same story. This just allows us to more finely tune all of that. Okay, now this is pretty much, if you understand at this point, you know more than about 90% of the people who work out in business. They don't understand this. They don't understand the concept of I have factors, variables, dimensions. I want to get data about them, and then I want to get facts, sales, times they visited my website, whatever, when, how, etc. What we call fact tables, and then measures. Then we get a production table we create when we pull all that in, so we can say how many people in Seattle between a certain age and a certain income level visited my website, and what percentage of them bought something, or what percentage of them walk in my establishment. Right? And I want to have those analytics. Okay. You say, well, this doesn't look like it's that big of a deal. It's really not. Okay. It's just kind of thinking about it and understanding our capacity to store this stuff and to pull it up is running far ahead of our ability to make sense of it. Okay. And you say, okay, well, what are you talking about? Well, let me see if I can find the wisdom triangle, and I'll show you. You've seen this before, but it doesn't kill you to see it again. You get paid to make good decisions. That's why you're hired. Someone thinks you'll make good decisions. All right? And in this table, we could see we start out, and I'm going to scroll it up a little bit higher so we can see it a little tighter. Okay, we have what we call information, stuff that's actionable, okay, and reproducible. Data. That's what information is. Data is just data. It's just out there. Okay. People's recommendations on Yelp about a restaurant, tweets, Facebook posts, etc. Okay, and when I can start to work with that, I have data I can make a decision with that's actionable, and then reproducible, I have information. Okay? When you and I look at the weather, meteorologists understand this better than anybody. Okay? They'll tell you, okay, folks, you know, the storm's coming over here to Southwest 59th, and that you can see that little rotation. Now, most of the public would die if they didn't have that kind of help. They'd never go to the shelter because they hadn't lived out it. We haven't lived out in nature enough anymore to really get this. My grandfather, my late grandfather, and when the air, he could tell when the air got to a certain heaviness, he'd put his finger, he'd go, we're going to have a really bad storm, we're going to have a tornado. It was like clockwork because he'd lived out among it. But now we got to collect data and understand it. And so we have all these heat thermals, and if it's cold, it's blue and all this stuff. It's information and it's actionable. If they say a snowstorm is coming with 4 inches of snow, I take action. Then we move up to something we call knowledge. This is the end game. This is what we try to do with these tools, databases, spreadsheets, especially with databases. And that is, and I also give you an idea of, in terms of strategically, it's midterm or tactical in its nature. I use business intelligence to discern customer purchasing patterns. I want to know when people are buying stuff and why. Okay. I probably shared it before, but one of the most amazing things when our church was kind of the triage point for the city in 13. And what was amazing to me is I helped them handle the inbound logistics. The people at Walmart called us within about, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 hours and said, here's what people are going to need. At day 1 to day 4 to 5 to day. And they went through this list. And sure enough, people started coming in saying, what the first thing they needed was heavy boots, saws. Why? We're digging out. The folks from the civil authorities brought dogs so they can go into the rubble and look for human beings, see if there's someone in there. Listening devices. Then at day 6, it was a whole different thing. And of course, every day it was water and food with salt, as much salt as they could get. Hot. People were out there trying to climb through all that. And it was absolutely amazing. And it dawned on me, they've been through a lot of these. And the people, when I talked to one of the regional people, and he said, look, we had we were putting the stuff on the trucks as it was happening. Now, same thing with hurricanes. So our current situation, where we are the greatest nation on the face of the earth and we can't get electricity to a set of our people, shame on us. Shame on us. Or we got people down in Houston that are still living in boxes 4 months, 6 months, 8 months later. Insanity. Okay? Total insanity. So we want replicable and reproducible information. That's knowledge. And then the holy grail of all of this is wisdom. This is long-term strategic knowledge, and I give you all the qualifiers about it. You can't get from information up to wisdom unless you have the information, you collect it, you have the experience, you're close to the customer, etc. And companies that can do that are going to be very, very, very sustainable. You probably have heard that I think it's Berkshire Hathaway, Amazon, and who else was it, is going to get into the healthcare business. Why? Because the future of healthcare is going to be in devices that people carry, applications on their phone, managing folks' data records, devices that can monitor you, and they understand all that. And so that they can move us to preventative medicine. And when people do need help, they can get their help quite quickly. Our insurance provider here has what they call a virtual physician. I said, what? You know how I am, I'm such a geek. And I said, okay. You know, my wife, I told her, I said, get a flu shot. She works up at the church there. She's around the people and the youth, and that's a virulent swamp for every kind of nasty virus. Probably kill the most virus-hardy person in the world. And she got sick. I got a flu shot. I didn't get sick. And I had a little red Walgreens badge on my arm. So when I wore my wife beater shirt, you know, one of them to church, I'm just teasing. I wear a coat over it so no one really sees. But I had my sticker. She got sick. So I said, let's do something. Let's call our virtual physician. So we went to the website. This is like 9:30 at night. Hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so. What's up? He said, well, okay, here's what you need to do. And he wrote us a script. Whoa. My doctor, I have to get an act of Congress to see him, and he only sees me for about 3 minutes. There's hundreds of patients. So those people are going to run through that, and they're going to use some business wisdom they've accumulated to really change that industry. But that's what we're trying to achieve. And we have the tools to do it, to understand that. Okay, now, again, you'll want to go and upload your files. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's go back up to the syllabus. Okay. And I'm going to go down to my database, make sure I've got it closed out and all this stuff. Okay. And I'm going to come over here. Now I'm going to go into Access Workshop 1, text number 2. Text number 2 is the rock-off text. And I'm going to go to settings so I can go into what we call, I can go to the student view. All right. And then I'll go over to the syllabus. And I'm going to click on Access Workshop 1, upload here. Okay. I'm going to click Submit an Assignment. And then I come down here, I'll choose a file. All right. And I'll find my little data warehouse file. Open it. If I want to add another file, I can. If I choose to, I can come back in here up to the point, with, for example, with this assignment, February 22nd at 6 p.m. Up to that point in time, when it closes, I can add stuff, or if I rework a file, I want to do that. I always have somebody has some issues with uploading stuff at Canvas, so I figured, okay, let's just show you how to do it. So I submit the assignment, and it says, congratulations, you submitted the file. You feel better about yourself already? I do. Right now, you know more than about 97 or 98% of the people out in business about databases and what they can do for you. Okay? Now, I'm going to leave the student view. You said, why is that? Because inherently, I don't like students. That's not true. But I don't care if you hate me. I don't care. It's okay by me. Now, so the first thing you want to do is upload that Access Workshop number 1, okay? Now, I want to show you just real quickly some data, some information, because we're at the 7 o'clock hour. We've got about 10 or 15 minutes left or so, okay? So I have a decision to make. Do I show you some more stuff, or do I try to sell you some amazing Ginsu knives? You ever go to the car shows and stuff, and they always have someone over there who's selling knives or some kitchen thing? I think they're so cool. And you see it takes this apple and slices it up in 150 pieces. And they got a little, you know, they got their little microphone on. To me, it's like an old man's DJ. Yeah. You know, because I'm whacking on them, and you know, they do all that cool stuff. Okay, I want to talk some about the access cases where we'll be working with. You're seeing these lunches database and all that business. You should have your books with you. Okay, they're not filled with kryptonite, so they will not kill you. And you never know. We don't know that at some point we may have to use these books to defend ourselves. What happens if the students at St. Gregory's get mad and march on OBU? And we're up here at night and here they come. What are we going to do? You know, run like a bunch of chickens? No. I have my concealed carry permit for my books, and I'm using it. In fact, I have several books. If I put a bump stop on that book, I can throw as many as I want to, as fast as I want to. This is the SQL fundamentals. And this is going to take us through a database for a company, and we're going to be running some queries, okay, from that. Now, let's go back into the files section. Okay. And as you scroll down, you're going to find, you say, wait a minute, Dr. Harmon, you're kind of stupid. Yes. Okay. Why don't you just do Patrick and search for it? Yeah. Okay, let's do that. Let's try first whiskey. Anything in there? What? No whiskey. All right. Let's try vodka. I mean, how do you spell vodka? Whoa, now we know a sinner among our midst. Uh-huh. Yeah. I'm going to have to be calling the chapel people about you. All right. Now, I'm going to look for Patrick, because he's the text, and there are the materials. Now let's open that up for just a minute, download it. Okay. And he has a thing called SQL Fun, which is a database with some tables in it, okay? And then there's also some code. And this is the code for specific chapters. And we're going to take the code, paste it into a query, and run it. That's what we'll be doing. And we'll just build progressively each week when we work with these. So lunches database 1, etc. We're just going to do it in a progressive fashion. And you'll see it. It's not going to be that big a deal. And after about 4 weeks of this, you'll be, oh, okay, I get it. Okay? All righty. Now, let's go back to the modules, and let's talk about what we've got going on. Okay? This is week 0. So we've done a little bit of an overview. Okay? Then we have some database warehouse concept. There's a nice little resource for you to take a look at. Here's something interesting. This is an interactive map of gun violence. I think pretty interesting. Okay. How many people have been shot near you this year? Feels good, huh? I like it. I don't want to know. Okay. I'm developing a database right now, and I want to make every person, okay, who likes barbecue register with the state so I know they're living near me. I think that's only fair. Okay. So you can go in and take a look to see how many people. Let's put in 74804. This will be interesting. Okay. And let's see what we got. What do they give us here? Did you give us an answer, you little weasel? There it is. All righty. Look at that, folks. Interesting stuff. Now, in addition to that resource, and there are a lot of those types of things I've got over here for you that I will want you to take a look at, okay? Let me pop back in here because I knocked myself off. We've looked a little bit at the analytical cube, talked about that, talked about the wisdom triangle. We've looked at data warehouse. Right? We know what we've got going on. Now, Next week, we're going to take a look at Access Workshop number 2, okay? And you say, okay, what should I be reading and looking at? Because we've uploaded number 1 this week. What I want you to be looking at is over at chapters 14, 15, and 16, okay? Because they're going to talk to us, they're going to share with us, how do I create a data warehouse? What's a fact table? What's a dimension table? And they walk you through in some great detail there, okay? Now, I think if I'm not mistaken, in the files section, I have Northwind Traders. Let me pop that up for just a minute. Huh, no Northwind Traders? That's interesting. Maybe I've got them out there in the thing, but I thought I had them here for us. If not, I'm going to have to go get them. Apparently not. Well, I'll have to pull them up and grab them for us. But anyway, next week we'll start on Access Workshop number 2. We'll talk about that. And again, that's chapter 14 and 15. We'll work with them. Then the third Access Workshop we'll play a little bit with pivot tables. And then Access Workshop number 4, we'll kind of try to pull it all together. Okay? And you may find over in the modules that I have what to upload for them. We've done this tonight. Here's a data warehouse 1. And I probably have got a 2 and 3 and 4 in there. And we'll upload those. And then you've got your quizzes, exams, stuff of that to get done. Okay? And you'll see all the lunches databases that are there that we're going to be working with. Okay, my friends, listen, I promised you we'd go till about 7 or 7:15. It's 7:07, so we're very, very close, right? And those are nice numbers. We're rolling 7s. And so I'm going to call it a day. Yes. Yeah, I'll take a look at that because no, I'm just going to give everybody a 0. Why not? I'll redo it, okay? That's my mistake when I was importing some of this stuff. So it's not due tonight. I'll make it do the 15th. Okay? So don't worry about that quiz. I'll roll it back to let it now. All right, folks, thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording and the share, and I will see you next week. And be on the lookout for the second part of the full 150 minutes of screencasts.